For today, we have a review of solved equations, all types. It's a review that was sent to you in a PowerPoint. So this video is going to have exactly the same problem, solve it step by step. So in this case, we're going to start with problem number 1. We have a linear equation. As you can see, we have 3 parentheses x minus 5 equals to 7x plus 3 minus 5x. They are asking me to solve for x. So I need to evaluate the left side. I have parentheses. So that's telling me that I'm going to use distributive properties. So I'm going to multiply 3 times x, 3 times negative 5. Then I look at the right side. So I have 7x plus 3 minus 5x. So I can see that I have like terms. 7x and negative 5x are like terms. So I can simplify these two on the right side. So let's do it. So I have 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15 equals 2. Now let's simplify these two. Let's be careful. So it's 7 minus 5 because it's in the same side. It's in the right side. So we just do 7 minus 5 equals to 2x plus 3. Okay. Next step, in this case, I have variable on the left side and I have variable on the right side. So I need to move the variables to one side. In this case, I'm going to move 2x to the left. So if I move it to the left, I'm going to use the opposite number. So negative 2x on both sides. So 2 minus 2 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1x. So I'm just going to write x minus 15 equals to 3 is what is left. One step equation, so I have x minus 15 equals to 3. So I'm going to cover your variables that way you usually do. So what do you have? Negative 15. So I'm going to use the opposite number. So plus 15 plus 15. So this one goes away. So x is equals to 18, and that's the solution for problem number 1. X equals 18, as you can see in your PowerPoint. So let's move to problem number 2. Problem number 2 is the same. It's a solve a linear equation, but in this case I have fractions on the left, I have fractions on the right. So my first step is trying to get rid of those fractions, trying to get rid of those denominators. So I need to find the least common denominator of 8 and 3. So in this case, if you have 8 and 3 is equals to 24. Remember that you factorize, you simplify the number. So 8 is equals to 2 times 2 times 2. 3 is a prime number. It's just 3 times 1. So it's equals to 8 times 3 equals to 24. Okay, here. Equals to 24 if you multiply 8 times 3. So in this case, what I'm going to do is multiply every single number by 24, and that will get rid of the denominator. For example, 7 over 8 times 24, negative 3 times 24, 4x times 24, and 2 over 3 times 24. And so what are we going to have? So we have 7 over 8 times 24, or 7 times 24 divided by 8 is equals to 21x. Then you have negative 3 times 24 is equals to negative 72 equals to 4x times 24 is equals to 96x plus 2 times 24 divided by 3 is equals to 16. As you can see, we have similar equation on problem number 1. So we need to move the variables to one side. In this case, I'm going to move it to the left. So I have 96x. I'm going to use the opposite, negative 96. Negative 96x, looking for the variable. So 96 goes away. So I have 21 minus 96 is equals to negative 75x minus 72 equals to 16. Two-step equation. Cover your variable. So you have negative 72. So we're going to use the opposite of that number. So we cancel out 72, so you have negative 75 x equals to 16 plus 72 is equals to 88. And the final step is negative 75 is multiplying, so we're going to do the opposite of multiplication is division. Negative 75, negative 75. Whatever happened on the left, it happens on the right. So we divide by the same number, same sign. So x is equals to negative 88 over 75. And that will be your solution for problem number 2, where you got rid of the denominators first. So that's problem number 2. Let's solve problem number 3. Problem number 3, I have solve x squared minus 25 equals to 0. We have different steps to solve this problem. You can use quadratic formula. You can use the zero product property. You can solve for x. You can factorize 25 and then use the zero product property. So in this case, I can notice that this is x squared minus 25 is a difference of squares. So this x squared, I'm going to do it here. X squared minus 25, you can write it as x squared minus 5 squared. So it's a difference of a square. So this will be x plus 5, x minus 5 equals to 0. So we can solve, apply the zero product property, which is just x plus 5 equals to 0 and x minus 5 equals to 0. And then you solve for x and you're going to get your solution. So I have x is equals to, so you have 5 is adding, so we're going to use the opposite, negative 5. So you have x minus 5 equals to 0, so you plus 5 plus 5. So x is equals to 5. So your solution in this case for this equation in brackets, it will be negative 5 and 5. Another way to solve this problem is use the square root method. I'm going to do it here. So you have x squared minus 25 equals to 0. So you solve for x first. So you have x squared minus 25. So plus 25 cancel out. So you have x squared equals to 25. Then we use the square root. Don't forget the plus minus. So this square goes away. So you have that x is equals to plus minus square root of 25 is 5. And that's your solution. That's it. You can use whatever method you want. You can even use the quadratic formula. So you have negative 5, comma 5. Same solution, 2 different steps. So let's do the next problem. Problem number 4 is a literal equation. So it's an equation that we need to solve for the variable h. So here's the variable that I need to solve. Step number 1, get rid of that fraction. You have 1/2 bh. So in this case, if you multiply both sides by the denominator, in this case 2 times 2 times 2, this one goes away. I don't have to worry about 1. Remember, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times b is b. So don't worry about 1. So I have 2a is equals to b times, and I'm going to put h in blue because that's the variable I'm solving for. Then you have b is multiplying, so we are going to divide both sides by b, the variable that I don't want on the right side. So b goes away. So you have that 2a over b is equals to h, and that's what they are asking me to do. Or h is equals to 2a over b, and that's the solution for problem number 4. Let's do problem number 5. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 24 equals to 0. We need to solve problem number 5. So we are going to factorize that trinomial. You can use trial and error. You can use Xbox. You can use whatever method you want. You can use quadratic formula. In this case, I'm going to some of my students are used to do Xbox method, where you use the independent term -24, and the bottom goes the middle term 5. We need two factors that multiply each other will give me -24, and if you add or subtract will give you 5. In this case is 8 and -3. 8 times -3 is -24. 8 plus -3 is equals to +5. So we're going to do a direct method. So x plus 8 times x minus 3 equals to 0. Then we're going to use the zero product property. Zero product property, where we separate these two factors by equals to 0. So I'm going to have x plus 8 equals to 0, and x minus 3 equals to 0. And then we solve for x. So you have x plus 8. I'm going to use minus 8 minus 8. So you have that x is equals to -8, and x is equals to, so you have -3 is going to be positive on the right side, 3. So my solution is -8, 3. That's problem number 5. Let's do problem number 6. Problem number 6. So I have a radical equation. So I have solve square root of x minus 3 equals to 7. I need to solve for x. So the first step is move that -3 to the right side, leave the x alone. So I have plus 3, 3 goes away. So you have the square root of x is equals to 10. Then we're going to elevate both sides to the second power. Remember that is the square root. So I need to elevate both sides to the second power. So these two cancels out the radical. So you have that x is equals to 10 times 10 is equals to 100. And that's the solution. X equals to 100 is the solution. And we're done with problem number 6. Problem number 7 is another literal equation. Problem number 7 is a literal equation. In this case, I need to solve for the variable n. So I need to solve for n. So cover your variable. So you have -3p. You need to get rid of that one. So I'm going to use the opposite. I'm going to use plus 3p. Plus 3p. I cannot simplify these two. This one I have v and this one is p, so you cannot simplify. So 3p goes away. So you have that 2n is equals to 5v plus 3p. Then remember, you need to solve for n. So 2 is multiplying. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. So I'm going to divide, and both you're going to do the two elements. So divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So n is equals to 5v plus 3p over 2. And in this case, you can leave it this way, or you can separate into two fractions. So n is equals to 5 over 2v plus 3 over 2p. And this, whatever answer from these two is going to be correct. And last problem for this video, I have problem number 8. So I have 2x squared minus 5x plus 8 is equals to 0. So I have I'm going to use for this problem a quadratic formula, because I already gave it a try to trial and error, so it doesn't factor out directly. So I need, my next step will be use the quadratic formula. Remember that the quadratic formula is x equals to -b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Where for this equation, for this trinomial, a is equals to 2, B is equals to -5, and C is equals to +8. So let's plug in those numbers in the formula. So I have x equals to negative from the formula, parentheses, B, where is B? -5, but careful with that negative, plus minus square root of B squared, so parentheses, -5 squared minus 4 times A, 2 times C, A, over 2 times A, which is 2. So let's simplify a little bit. So I have that x is equals to negative and negative is +5 plus minus square root of 5. -5 squared is -5 times -5 is +25. Negative minus 4 times 2 times 8 is equals to -64. Close the radical. And then I have 2 times 2 equals to 4. So what are we going to do now? Let's simplify what is inside the radical. So x is equals to 5 plus minus square root of 25 minus 64 is equals to -39 over 4. And in this case, I'm going to stop here because the discriminant, what is inside the radical, is negative. So we're going to have no real roots. And this case goes with the PowerPoint. So in the PowerPoint, it's telling me we're going to stop here, and it says no real roots because what is inside of the square root is negative. So I'm going to say my solution is no real roots. I just stop here. We have no real solutions. Remember from the class, if the discriminant is greater than 0, we have 2 real roots. If it's 0, then we have 1 real root. And if it's less than 0, negative number, we have 0 real roots or imaginary solutions. But in this case, with the PowerPoint, I'm going to leave it as no real roots. And that's my solution for problem number 8.